We've often heard tech companies talk about product market fit. But have you heard about product founder fit? It refers to the founder's deep personal connection and understanding of the problem that a company is trying to solve. This very philosophy forms the foundation of Deel, an HR services platform which has emerged as one of the fastest growing enterprise SaaS companies globally.
I am from France originally. I lived around the world. I knew that there was amazing people all over the world that could thrive in amazing companies. They just weren't living in Silicon Valley or in Mountain View. So understanding the problem at a very deep level helped us get the best out of the product really fast in the hands of our users.
That was Alex Bouaziz, co-founder and CEO of Deel, who started the company 6 years ago with his co-founder Shu Wong to solve the problem for global talent sourcing. Since then, the company has pivoted to many services, which includes end-to-end payroll management, compliance services, and employer of record services that allows companies to hire anywhere without setting up local entities. Today, Deel competes with the likes of ADP, Rippling, Darwinbox, and Zoho. It crossed 1 billion in annual recurring revenue this year and serves over 40,000 customers in nearly 150 countries. All of this while being a remote-first company. In its Series E fundraising round last October, Deel was valued at 17 billion. I spoke to Alex on the company's growth story, fundraising, remote-first work culture, and the latest hiring trends. This is the latest episode of our special series, ET in the Valley. It's Wednesday, the 24th of December. I'm your host, Himanshi Lohchab, and this is the Morning Brief. So, Alex, I want to start with the backstory of how you founded Deel back in 2019. How did you envision a product idea like that?
Deel started about 6 years ago now. And the main idea was there's amazing people all around the world. How can we help companies have the right infrastructure and the right setup so that they can hire them and give them great opportunities? And since then, it's been quite a fun journey. We've crossed over $1 billion plus in ARR. We serve almost 40,000 plus customers. We've even recently raised a round at over $17 billion plus. But what's even more exciting is how we're going to deploy this capital and all of the things that we can bring to our customers, from M&As to new fintech products to more infrastructure. There's a lot that we have in store.
Do you want to share any interesting moments that you faced or challenges that you faced during your journey of building this company?
Well, so many, right? We went through an accelerator at the time called Y Combinator with just an idea. And since then, it's been a roller coaster of emotion. I think one thing people love to chat about is very early on, we changed ideas many, many times because we weren't sure what was best and what we should focus on. And I think one interesting fact that maybe the audience will like is what I've learned as a founder is the most important part is working on something that you really understand. I like to call this product founder fit. So what I mean by that is something that you have a very strong understanding of, a very strong personal connection to. For example, in the case of Deel, I am from France originally. I lived around the world. I knew that there was amazing people all over the world that could thrive in amazing companies. They just weren't living in Silicon Valley or in Mountain View, so they didn't have the right opportunities. But, a lot of my friends from engineering school, I knew how talented they were. So understanding the problem at a very deep level helped me focus on the customer and in a way that really helped us get the best out of the product really fast in the hands of our users.
Can you explain a little bit more about your philosophy of founder product fit?
I think strong-minded people and engineers, they can solve every problem, assuming it's not rocket science or very, very complicated technical problem where you need expertise. But when you're running a company, you're in for a very long journey. So what I found is if you want to really, really solve for your customer's best interests and have that customer obsession, you need to, at a personal level, feel very attached to the problem. But that's also how, in the long term, you stay focused. Deel is now 6 years old. It's been a crazy journey, and crazy journey are very intense, right? They take a toll on people. But when you're so driven by the mission and when you're so driven by the product and the market, and there's a very strong fit between you and what you're doing, I think you can really move mountains, right? And that's one of the reasons we've been kind of thriving at Deel. When I think about the impact of what we're doing, when I think about how I would have wished that Deel existed when I came out of school, that's what really drives us. And that customer obsession is very much reinforced by it.
That's really a very interesting concept I've heard, and it's really worked for Deal. Congratulations on that. So, Alex, now that the company is valued at almost 17 billion, your ARR has reached 1 billion, you're present in almost 150 countries. Tell us, what is the future growth story? Where do we go from here? How do you plan to use the funds? Are you exploring M&As?
I think we're very much at the beginning of Deel. We went from being a company with two products. We were helping companies hire people abroad, all the way to now helping companies with the end-to-end HR and payroll system, from performance learning all the way to helping you set up an entity in a country and running all of your payroll in one system, whether it's in the US, in India, in Japan, wherever that might be, or investing in our infrastructure. We own 55 payroll engines. We're planning to go to 100 payroll engines. We're actually even launching our own engine in India next year. And yeah, applying these funds into the experience of the customers, whether it's the end user or the companies using the platform. Obviously, M&A is a big topic for us. We've done 13 M&As, mainly a mix of technological acquisitions and business acquisitions. We've always been very opportunistic. For a young company, it's not that common. We'll probably do more. HR and payroll is an amazing, huge market that is ripe for disruption, for automation, for AI, and for a huge focus on customers.
And you touched upon India, and I wanted to come to that. Can you tell us, what does Deal's India story look like, and how are you planning to expand here?
Well, India is a key market for Deel. From a pure go-to-market standpoint, so many companies love hiring in India because of how amazing the talent pool is there. And generally for Deel, apart from that, we actually have ourselves 1,000 people in India, right, across the country. So it's definitely a super important market for us. And we actually envision that over the next few years, it's going to become one of the most critical markets for Deel. And we also support amazing companies in the market. If you look at companies like Paytm or Varrock, or for example, a company like Tech Mahindra, I don't know if you know them, but it's an amazing businesses. They're ripe for growth. So it's not just about companies looking to expand into India. It's also to help companies in India thrive around the world.
Tell me, where is the demand mostly coming from? I mean, IT and GCCs are expanding widely in India, but there's also demand for cross-border hiring, especially for the tech talent. What is your view?
So Deel as a company, we were more of a platform to help you hire people for talent and around the world. That usually, biased our users to be more on the tech and IT side, right? So we actually see the full payroll of companies end to end and where they're hiring and what they're thinking. Generally, most of the customers that are hiring today in India are still, kind of thinking about tech first and IT and maybe some of the back office processing that they're working through. But the type of talent that we're seeing, whether it's AI talent, there's so many Indian founders that are moving to the Valley, but are actually even coming back to India to build great businesses. And we're so excited to see this as well. So
yeah. On the movement of talent, I wanted to talk about the US anti-immigration stance right now on this, and how has it impacted, hiring strategies of global companies? You work with them firsthand. So what is your view? What is the sense that you're getting from customers?
First of all, the US today has a pretty strong immigration stance. There's a lot of countries that actually have a way of looking at immigration and pretty strict standard in terms of who they want to bring into the country. So it's not shocking to me that, they're tightening up regulations a little bit. And if you were to look at across different countries, for example, in Europe or others, there's similar rules as well, right? When it comes specifically to the US, I think one interesting fact is that people from India actually make up 70% of all of the H-1B applicants. So it is like a very important corridor there for sure. But look, I think what happens when regulation tightens is usually you have a market reaction to this. So, one of the things that we're seeing more and more is that instead of moving people to the Bay Area or to the US, then, companies are starting to open up office abroad, offices in India, in Latin America, in Eastern Europe. There is oftentimes a lack of talent in countries, right? Like we're thinking about the US, but think about Japan and other countries. Sometimes there's just not enough people to be able to do what the ambitions that the country has or companies really have. So even if you make immigration a bit tighter, companies can have to find another way to be able to expand. And I think the natural expansion of this really is hiring people either remotely or hiring them by opening new offices. And you can see the biggest companies, maybe the most exciting companies in the market, the Tropics of the world, the OpenAIs of the world at the moment, are opening offices around the world.
Has it also increased compliance difficulties for a firm like yours, which runs a global firm in HR services? Has it created challenges for you?
No, not really, right? Like we're a pretty agnostic company. We work across all forms of
Yeah.
integrations, across all forms of payroll, across all forms of countries. If anything, I actually think it's going to be tailwinds for global hiring in general, right? Like if you cannot bring people into the country, you're going to need to find different solutions to be able to hire them because the need of hiring is still going to be there. I love to go back to that example. If you're looking at AI talent, for example, you cannot compete, right? So if anything, I think it's going to be an accelerator for companies to start thinking, okay, like if I cannot bring the best people in the world to me, then I'm gonna have to go to them. So to some extent, there's some level of excitement in order to be able to support this for sure.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I want to know a little bit more about the wages that you talked about, how US companies are giving very high salary offerings to AI talent. Do you believe that right now, with the AI technology wave, there is a wage gap which is expanding between entry level, junior levels, and to mid to senior levels? Are you seeing that already?
I actually think AI companies are generally paying significantly higher than other companies just for the sake of getting talent. And that's not just in the tech world and the engineering jobs. It's actually across the board, whether it's sales, whether it's operations. When it comes to your specific question, which is generally AI impacts on entry level jobs versus seniority, in my honest opinion, and I think we also have some data that we'll be very happy to share there. Entry level jobs becoming more complicated. If you're looking at a new entry level job, you don't have any past experiences, and some of the work you can do can be done in a couple minutes through AI or through different coding tools. And yeah, it definitely has an impact. But the way we kind of look at this is that it will course correct eventually, and I feel pretty strongly about it. It's that in 2-3 years, most of the new hires, most of the new grads that are going to get to the marketplace are going to be so advanced when it comes to using AI that they're going to be significantly more efficient than a lot of the seniors on the role.
What is Deal's competitive strategy in a space which is crowded with incumbents like ADP? We have Rippling. Back home in India, we have providers like Darwinbox and Zoho. How do you compete in a crowded category like that?
The companies you quoted, they barely cannot do anything at an international level, right? They're usually very focused on their core markets. As you know, when I look at companies, you mentioned ADP, Darwinbox, Zoho, we'd be super excited to partner with them. When it comes to the international aspects of things, I think this is where we are really the best in the market. And this is where we have generally a unique offering as well as a unique team. We've got over 1,000 plus people in-house that are doing compliance and legal and payroll and infrastructure all day, making sure that we stay compliant at the global level. We've been shaping our product to help global teams. So, the way I kind of look at this is we're usually a bit more complementary to those companies. And we actually have a couple partnerships in the works that we're very excited about too.
Tell us a little bit about work culture at Deel. I know one of the very interesting stories about Deel is that you're a fully remote company operating in over 150 markets. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, actually, a fun thing is that this year we've paid workers in every single country in the world that is not US sanctioned. And we're very excited about that milestone. It's a pretty big one for us. But yeah, when you talk about Deel itself, we like to walk the walk. The way I think about it is, yes, we are fully distributed with 7,000 people across, I think, 120 countries in-house, where we have people present in every single location. And this is one of the things I love when I see, for example, some other companies in the market that are trying to do what we do. It's so complex, right? Like, for example, you might know this, but the Indian government right now is modernizing the labor codes, right? Like they're actually changing things. There's so much dynamisms into local structures, local systems, local employment laws and benefits that you need experts on the ground, but also stay up to date with regulations so that we can make sure that the company evolves with time and stay on top of our game. So it's pros and cons, obviously, being a fully remote company. I wish I could have all of my teammates with me. I want to work with them. It's something that we miss, and we try to offset that by having offsites together and spending time together. But on the other side, the pros of doing this, whether it's that, again, local knowledge we get, or just the fact that we can hire, quite literally, the best people in the world whenever we want, it just makes up for it. And it's something that we're very excited about.
Any targets that you've set for yourself in terms of, where do we go from here, from let's say 1 billion ARR for the next 5 years?
Obviously, after 1 comes 2, right? And eventually after 2 comes 10. There's a couple of things that are maybe a bit more product centric that we're excited about. We want to get to 100+ payroll engine over the next 5 years. Again, it may seem like a small thing, but it's really not. No company already has 50 like we do. So going to 100 really makes for a huge market share and really like owning international payroll like no one does. But obviously, I think that there's definitely some great targets that we're looking at over the next few years, whether it's potentially taking a company public, whether it's getting to numbers like that 10 billion ARR, which is the one I'm focusing on a bit more. But we have a lot to do. We're only getting started. And as long as we can keep delivering an amazing customer experience, I don't see anything that can stop us.
Wonderful. Thank you for this great conversation, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me. And excited for the year ahead.
That was Alex Bouaziz of Deel on how tightening immigration rules and increasing wage inequality is really pushing global companies towards remote hiring and distributed global workforces. Stay tuned as we bring you more conversations from ET in the Valley. I am Himanshi Lohchab and you've been listening to The Morning Brief. This episode was produced by Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. A new episode of this series drops every Wednesday wherever you get your podcast. Our other shows are The Morning Brief on Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and Corner Office Conversation every alternate Monday. Keep listening.